Hey Rion, I know you were born in the 70s, so I'm going to assume that you're asking this question on behalf of your kids or your grandkids or something like that. But I have 2 points to make. The first is that the premise of your question is wrong and therefore it's leading rather than open. And I know you probably know this by now because you've been dunked on in the comments. But the most obvious point to make is it's not a punishment. The post-apartheid laws are aimed at creating equality, not punishing past behavior. But these laws do arise from past behavior because we, white South Africans, and your generation in particular, my generation, were the exploiters that perpetuated apartheid and the evil that it inflicted on the majority black population of South Africa that requires the correction of the law that you're bitching about. So your question is the perfect example of how equality looks like oppression to oppressors, when the truth is that any white South Africans born after 1994 should be in no doubt that any lack of privilege that they have and the trouble of competing on a level playing field created by the post-apartheid laws is 100% the fault of their parents, of us, Rion, of you, Rion, of your parents, of white South Africans in general. So if anybody's going to bitch about the impact of efforts to redress past harms and create a level playing field for all South Africans, they've got to bitch at us. At you, Rion, at your parents, at my parents. We are the ones that fucked them over for decades, for centuries. We caused the problem for our offspring. It is our fault that a system now exists that appears to make the lives of our offspring harder. But it's only harder relative to the insane privilege that we gave ourselves for all of that time of history, of colonialism, of exploitation. And mate, if you think it's hard for our kids, imagine how hard it is for a kid who grew up in a shanty in Khayelitsha, or in Soweto, or in Edendale, who did not have the privilege of growing up in a nice home with food on the table, who did not grow up being punished just for the color of their skin. So if moving from a system of privilege to a system of fairness is punishment, then yeah, people born before 1994, yes, they are being punished, but they're being punished for us. And so they need to turn the blame for that punishment on us, on their parents. Is that what you're asking for? And perhaps thinking about it in a different context will help. Do you think that if Israeli children born after this current genocide live in a pariah state where their lives are not as good as their lives would have been had they been born 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago? And would it be the fault of the Palestinians, or would it be the fault of their genocidal parents who murdered, raped, tortured, imprisoned, stole from innocent people? Rion, we did the same at a lesser scale, and we pretend that because we didn't go around murdering randomly, only a little bit of targeted killing, remember Steve Biko? We should receive a free pass for our past sins. Doesn't work that way, my friend. It does not work that way. And the sooner we, as white South Africans, get our head around that and join the efforts to make South Africa a better country instead of bitching about it, the better it will be for all of us.